Hokage get burning art at the start. Chapter 461 to 480. Chapter 461 Hang you. I said that you are a person. We people have no grievances or enmity with you. Why did you start to attack us in just one face-to-face effort? At this time, Sauron saw this naval leader Smolo. He actually ordered his subordinates to surround his own people. This immediately made Nazaro, Sanji and the others angry. Hee, I said that you pirates are really naive. I am a serious navy, and you are pirates. Since ancient times, soldiers and thieves have been incompatible, so naturally I will attack you. Stop giving me the fucking bullshit. At this time, Nami was already oppressed by this profiteer before, which made Nami very uncomfortable. Now that I have seen this naval leader, Smolo, he dares to pretend in front of him. This made Nami annoyed. I tell you this so-called navy chief, we are indeed pirates, but the goal of our pirates is not to burn, kill, loot, or rob houses. We are just going to the great voyage to find treasures, so we and your navy doesn't have any grudges, so I hope you can keep our wells from running into rivers. Clap clap clap. Before Nami could finish speaking, the naval leader, Smolo, was in instant kung fu. He rushed in front of Nami, not waiting for Nami to react. This Smolo immediately knocked Nami to the ground with 3 punches and 2 kicks. What? You fucking dare to shoot at my beloved woman. Sanji is a serious and affectionate person. He was very fond of Nami. Therefore, once I saw this Nami, I was knocked over by this naval leader, Smolo. This suddenly made Sanji burst into anger, and he was furious. So this Sanji performed a face-to-face kung fu, and then displayed his serious leg technique. He even showed all the stunt killers in his own leg technique. But what he didn't expect was that the naval leader Smolo he faced today was not an ordinary human being. It was the one who devoured the devil fruit of smoke. Therefore, when Smolo saw Sanji attacking him, he immediately smiled coldly. Immediately turned his body into smoke. This suddenly shocked Sanji in his heart. At this time, Sauron also immediately used his 3 swordsmanship. He also immediately launched an attack on Smolo. But what Sauron didn't expect was that he used to be invincible and invincible in the 3 swordsmanship. Now in front of this Smoluo, he is still as weak as an ant, and he did not hurt Smoluo at all. Naturally, Zoro and Sanji looked at each other immediately. Hee, you two trash-like pirates, do you think you can beat me? I tell you, this is absolutely impossible. Oh, if they can't beat you, don't know if I can beat you. At this time, as soon as Kazama saw his companions, they were all knocked to the ground by this Smoluo. This suddenly made the wind in the heart annoyed. After all, according to Kazama's original wishes, he was not willing to conflict with these navies here. It's not that the winds are afraid of them. But the top priority of the wind is to go to the great sailing road and temper the strength of his companions. Chapter 462 You can't. But now that I see this navy Smolo, I keep pretending to be in front of myself. That Fengjian thought that if he could endure any longer, wouldn't he become a tortoise with a shrinking head? This is not what the Wind Room wants to see. So the wind rushed towards Smolo and launched an attack. At this time, Nazmalo didn't take Kazama in his eyes at all. Although he knew that Kazama's bounty was 100 million Bailey. He also expected the wind to be more or less capable. But he thought that now I am that serious smoke body, capable of attacking and defending. No matter how powerful Fengjian is, he is not my opponent. So Nazmalo once again used the ability of his smoke fruit to fight with the wind. After a few face-to-face efforts, they all avoided Kazama's attack. At this time, Nazmalo was overjoyed when he saw that Kazami's attack failed to hurt him in the slightest. Then he sneered again and said to the Wind Room, "How about the little bastard? Now I said that you are not my opponent, do you really think you can beat me?" But this was when Nazmalo was pretending to be in front of the wind. Just seeing the wind directly knocked him to the ground. What? How is this possible? As soon as he saw that Fengjian was really able to hit him, he was so frightened that Smoluo fell out of cold sweat. Because since Smoluo devoured the smoke fruit, no one is his opponent. He didn't even pay attention to the leaders of the Admiralty headquarters such as Aokiji and Kizaru. But now he never expected, a pirate like garbage in his eyes. He was able to knock himself to the ground with his fist style. This scared him into a cold sweat and completely refreshed his worldview. He. Seeing this Smoluo's shocked look on his face, Kazama sneered at him again. Let me tell you, I'm a sturdy man, so it's easy to deal with you, but I'm not a murderous person, so I don't want to treat you too much. I'll take action, and I don't want to kill you. But I didn't expect that you were fucking pretending to be in front of me all the time. If that's the case, then it's impossible for me to forgive you. At this time, Kazama thought, and attacked Nasmolo again. After a few face-to-face efforts, Kazama directly displayed his futon wind style. At this time, Nasmolo didn't know that Kazama had the ability to escape from the 5 elements. He also thought that the wind room was just a little stray hair, and that the wind room was just a piece of garbage. Therefore, he hurriedly turned his body into smoke, ready to wait for an opportunity to escape. It's a pity that in front of the wind, no one has the ability to escape. Because Kazama is the overlord in the pirate world. This is a face-to-face effort in the wind, when even Nasmolo was directly trapped in his tornado. What? How is this possible? How can you have such a powerful ability? At this time, Smoluo saw that his body had clearly turned into smoke. But he was still completely controlled by that wind room, which suddenly made Nasmolo fall out in cold sweat. You don't need to know how my Fengjian is so powerful, you just need to know that in front of me, you are as weak as an ant. Chapter 463 Susano of Pirate World. It's really cheating on me. Seeing that Fengjian was pretending to be forceful in front of him again, he was even chasing at him endlessly. This Smoluo was immediately furious. But now even if he is angry, it is of no use at all. After all, his strength can't help the wind at all. At this time, many of Smoluo's subordinates were shocked when they saw Fengjian so powerful. But even if they were shocked in their hearts, they did not dare not to help their leader, Smoluo. So these men hurried to attack the wind again. At this time, Nasmolo was naturally overjoyed when he saw that his subordinates were loyal to him. Then he pointed at the nose of the wind again and cursed angrily. I'll tell you, the little girl in the wind, even though you're fucking strong enough, but in front of me you're just a piece of trash. Next, I'll show you how my subordinates killed you. Quote. Do you really think your subordinates have the strength to see me beheading? What? Hearing the words of the wind, Smoluo was taken aback again. It turned out that at this time, Kazama immediately cast Susano. Then a face-to-face effort blocked the attacks of these numerous navies. And blocked all these naval shells at the periphery. And also completely protected Nazaro, Sanji, Nami and others. What? How is this possible? That Smoluo never expected that the strength of a person in the wind was so strong and so awesome. This suddenly scared him into a cold sweat. At this time, Sanji, Zoro and others saw that they were completely saved. Seeing that Kazama has the ability to completely hang Smoluo, he was immediately happy. Then he sneered again and said to Smoluo, I tell you Smoluo, we people have no grievances with you, but you keep pretending to force in front of us, so naturally we will not have any grievances. You must be saved. It really pissed me off. Nasmoluo saw Kazama and the others actually pretending to be forceful in front of him over and over again. This suddenly made Nasmolo be furious. At this time, Smoluo immediately wanted to use a trick to let Kazama release him. Then he took the opportunity to escape. It's a pity that Fengjian is a serious smart person. How could he have been hit by a trick like Smoluo? Therefore, after a few face-to-face efforts, the Smoluo was knocked to the ground again. At this time, Kazama originally wanted to kill this Smoluo. But then Kazama thought that he was not the murderous person. Therefore, there is no need to scare Smoluo to death. So that Fengjian said to Nazmolo again, I tell you Smolo, now that I have spared you a dog's life, it doesn't mean that you are very fucking awesome, very powerful, but I don't want to talking to you too much, so now you'd better make it clear to me. This is what Kazama said as he immediately led Zoro, Sanji and the others to prepare to leave here. At this time, although Smolo was very angry, there was nothing he could do. After all, Kazami's strength has indeed surpassed him by a lot. Even if he is not convinced, it is useless. At this time, Kazama and others originally wanted to find Luffy and set sail again. Chapter 464 Bucky the Clown Strikes Again. But what Kazama and the others did not expect was, now when they arrive at the execution platform in this town, but found that Luffy was surrounded by a group of pirates. And when Kazama saw the appearance of one of the pirates, he was shocked again. It turns out that this pirate is Bucky the Clown who was knocked to the ground by the wind before. At this time, the clown Bucky had long wanted to find the shame of the wind. That's why this clown Bucky took Luffy hostage. He knew that Luffy and the wind were serious brothers and friends. He thought that as long as he caught Luffy, he wouldn't be afraid that Kazama would not show up. And at this time, just as the clown Bucky said. Now, as soon as he caught Luffy, Kazama and the others had already arrived here. This instantly made Bucky the Clown ecstatic. So the clown Bucky sneered again and scolded in the wind. You little stray hair in the wind, it's so hard for me to find you. Oh, could it be that you want to be hanged by me again? At this time, Kazama didn't pay attention to this clown Bucky at all. So I laughed at Bucky the Clown again. What? You fucking dare to laugh at me again? It's really unbearable and unbearable. At this moment, when Bucky the Clown saw Kazama pretending to be forceful in front of him, he immediately became furious. Then, with a face-to-face effort, he was killed in the wind. I'll tell you the little bastard in the wind, I, the clown Bucky, can't be humiliated. I didn't pay much attention to you at first, but now you fucking dare to look down on me, then I'm bound to tear you to pieces. To ashes. After the clown Bucky had been dormant for a while, his confidence also increased greatly. He completely forgot how strong and powerful the wind was. Therefore, in a face-to-face effort, he once again displayed his ability to fragment. But he forgot his ability to be torn apart. Although he was very awesome in front of other pirates, he was very terrifying. But in front of that wind room, his ability to be torn apart is simply rubbish. At this time, as soon as Fung Kazama saw the clown Bucky, he wanted to use this move against himself. This suddenly made him sneer. So Kazama immediately unleashed his power of different fire. Immediately, the torn body of the clown Bucky was all surrounded by strange fire. The burning clown Bucky was rolling on the floor. What? How is this possible? Why can your flame surround my body? I don't believe that anyone in this world can control the flame so precisely. The clown Bucky scolded the wind while rolling around. Hee hee, you don't need to worry about why my abilities are so awesome. In short, I tell you Bucky the Clown, since there is a way to heaven and you don't go, and there is no way to hell, you just come here, so don't blame me for being ruthless in the wind. Quote. Hee hee, the little girl in the wind, do you really think I'm the only one fighting with you now? At this time, the clown Bucky's voice fell. I saw a graceful beauty, and with one face-to-face effort, all the flames surrounded by the torn body of the clown Bucky were removed. What? How is this possible? As soon as he saw that his strange fire could be suppressed by others, this suddenly shocked Nakazama. Chapter 465 Female Pirate Alrita has plastic surgery. And when Nakazama looked at this beauty, Nakazama realized that he didn't know this beauty. So Fengjian immediately said to the beautiful woman, I said you are a person, I have never known you to Fengjian, and I have no hatred with you, why do you want to help this clown Bucky to shoot me? Don't give me this shit. Before Kazama could finish speaking, the beauty with the wolf Kiba stick immediately roared at Kazama. I tell you, my appearance hasn't changed much now, only Madara, the bird on my face, has disappeared. Don't you fucking know me? What? Who are you? As soon as he saw that this person seemed to be his former enemy, Kazama was shocked again. His head was spinning extremely fast, but he could come to the conclusion that he did not know this person. At this time, the qualified beauty scolded the wind again. Little miscellaneous hair, I am the female pirate Yarita who was knocked away by your punch. What? How is this possible? Kazama was not only shocked when she heard that the girl claimed to be Arita. Even that Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Nami and others were all shocked. Because they had seen this owl Rita before. And Nile Rita is a short and fat ant who is exactly the same as that Chow Luobi. But now this female pirate has actually become graceful and beautiful. This naturally shocked Na Fengjian and the others in their hearts. At this time, that owl Rita sneered at Kazama and others again. I'll tell you the truth, I devoured the slippery fruit. Now my body has become very smooth and elastic, and my attacks can also become very smooth, so even if your flame is awesome no matter how powerful, in front of the ability of my slippery fruit, your flame is still garbage. So now if you fucking know each other, just kowtow to me and beg for mercy, otherwise I will never forgive you. Hee hee. At this time, without waiting for Owl Rita to finish speaking, Luffy immediately punched Owl Rita. Let me tell you Arita, although you are very capable, you are still a piece of garbage in front of me, a rubber man. Clap clap clap. Before that Luffy could finish speaking, Arita immediately slapped Luffy 3 times, knocking Luffy to the ground. Let me tell you this little girl, there are 2 people I hate the most, one is the little girl in the wind, and the other is you little brat. You know that my body is very smooth and elastic now, if you still want to beat me, this is simply impossible. At this time, just as Kazama said, this Luffy's attack is sharp, but awesome. However, there is absolutely no ability to hurt this Arita in the slightest. Therefore, a few face-to-face efforts were directly avoided by Nile Rita. This can suddenly download that Luffy and fall out in a cold sweat. Then, before Luffy could react, Owl Rita knocked Luffy to the ground again with 3 punches and 2 kicks. And at this time, the wind saw that Owl Rita's slippery ability was so awesome. This immediately surprised the wind. Then Kazama immediately thought to himself, the ability of this slippery fruit is really too rare, even my strange fire can't hurt her, so I don't know if my other moves can deal with her. As soon as he thought about this, Kazama immediately rushed to Nile Rita to launch his own storm. 5 Attribute Attacks. Chapter 466 Capricious Little Man. Then he launched his own taijutsu, the 8 inner gates, to Nile Rita, and a series of attacks. But what Kazama didn't expect was that none of his attacks could hurt Owl Rita in the slightest. This can suddenly make Fengyan's heart startled, and it also suddenly makes that Fengjian absolutely unexpected. At this time, Nile Rita saw that Kazama's attack failed. Immediately, he sneered at the wind room again. How about Xiaozao Mao in the wind? I said that you are not my fucking opponent. Now I see how arrogant you are in front of me, how can you pretend to be in front of me? It really pissed me off. Seeing that Nile Rita kept provoking herself, the wind immediately became furious. Immediately after the complaint, Kazama turned to Nile Rita with a face full of anger and said, I tell you Yanulita, do you really think that I am not your opponent? Yes, I just don't think you are my opponent. Okay, since that's the case, now I'll let you see my abilities. At this time, Kazama said, and immediately killed Nile Rita again. At this time, Yarita dared to act in front of her when she saw that Kazama was obviously not her opponent. This suddenly made Nile Rita sneer in her heart. Then Nile Rita launched her own slippery fruit attack into the wind again. But what Nile Rita did not expect was, now Kazama directly utilizes the system's ability to absorb Arita's slippery fruit ability. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the super slippery fruit. At this time, Kazama obtained the ability of super smooth fruit. After a few face-to-face efforts, he used his more powerful and smoother attack to slap Nile Rita into a bruised face. What? How is this possible? It's absolutely impossible. As soon as Alrita saw that Kazama was so awesome, so powerful, he was so frightened that he fell out in a cold sweat. It also immediately made her face full of disbelief. At this time, Kazama sneered again and said to Yarita, I told you Yarita, I said before that you are not my opponent, and now you still don't believe it. Let's see what you will do next. How can you be arrogant in front of me if you pretend to be forceful in front of me? This is the time between the 3 and 5 and 2 of the wind, and then the clown Bucky and Arita are tied to Wawada. Then the two of them were brought before the Navy chief, Smollo. At this time, he was angry because he had been beaten by the wind before. Now I see Kazama actually tying the two evil pirates, Bucky the clown and Arita, to him. This suddenly shocked Nazmolo. So this Smoluo immediately rushed into the wind with a puzzled face and said, I said you little bastard, you fucking knocked me to the ground before, you were already awesome enough, and now you are still dare to pretend in front of me. Do you want to see my jokes in front of me? Hee hee, I said you Smoluo, you were really biting Lu Dongbin and don't know good people. Now I helped you catch these two arrogant, domineering and murderous pirates. Appreciate it, and even dare to pretend to force in front of me. It's really unbearable and unbearable. What, really? Hearing the words of the wind, Smollo was shocked again. Afterwards, he hurriedly rushed to the wind with a smile on his face and said, I said, little brother Fengjan, we are not guilty of water from the well. I really don't know that you are here to help, and now I will immediately take the two people into custody. As Smollo spoke, he immediately came to Kazami's side. But what Kazama didn't expect was that now this Smoluo had a face-to-face effort and launched an attack on Kazama. This is something that the wind never expected. Chapter 467 Control You with Koto Amatsukami. However, although Kazama was shocked in his heart, that Kazama would not be hurt by this naval leader, Smollo. After all, the strength of Kazama has surpassed that of the naval leader, Smollo, by hundreds of times. Even if the navy leader Smollo used a sneak attack, Kazama could still use his absolute defense, his impenetrable body, to resist the navy leader Smollo's attack. And now Kazama doesn't just have to resist the attack of the naval chief, Smollo. That Kazama still has to protect Zoro, Luffy and others. So Kazama's face-to-face kung fu cast Susanoo again. At this time, Na Fengjan was most tired of others sneaking up on him. Therefore, in a face-to-face kung fu, Kazama directly displayed the god-level perfect Susanoo. Susanoo that Kazama had cast earlier was only half finished. Therefore, although the naval chief Smollo saw it, he was not afraid. He thought it was just some bells and whistles in the wind. But he didn't expect that now the wind is actually a face-to-face kung fu, showing such an awesome, such a powerful Susanoo. This suddenly scared the Navy chief, Smollo, into a cold sweat. If it weren't for the Navy chief Smollo, he would also be a battle-hardened generation. I am afraid that a face-to-face kung fu will be directly frightened by this god-level Susanoo, who is 100 meters tall. And at this time, when Susanoo of Kazama was used, not only the naval leader Smollo was shocked. Even the comrades who were Kazama, Luffy, Zoro and others were all shocked. You must know that they have never seen Fengjan perform such a powerful move before. They were naturally shocked. Besides, in their One Piece world, no one has ever been able to use such an awesome ability. Even the leaders of the four emperors, Chiwahai, and the naval headquarters couldn't have such awesome strength. So Luffy, Zoro and the others are now looking at Kazama as if they were looking at monsters. Immediately, all of them secretly said, Fortunately, Fengjan is our good brother. Good brother, if Fengjan is the enemy, then I am afraid that we people will have to face each other and be killed by that Fengjan. Just when Luffy, Zoro, and the others were thinking like this, that Kazama had already put Luffy and the others in a safe place with Susanoo in this complete body. Then Kazama sneered again and said to Navy Chief Smollo, Navy Chief Smollo, I originally wanted to cooperate with you with good intentions, and let the clown Bucky you catch me with this female pirate Kiba. Erlita, then it's better to go back and claim credit, but now you are actually pretending to be in front of me, it's really unbearable. This one. At this time, the naval chief, Smollo, was indeed no match for the Kazama when he saw that he was. And it is completely incapable of fighting against the wind. This naturally made the Navy chief Smoluo tremble in his heart. So at this time, the naval leader, Smollo, immediately thumped and knelt directly in front of the wind. At this time, facing the sudden resignation of the naval leader Smollo, not to mention that Luffy and others did not expect it. Even the original subordinates of the Navy chief, Smollo, did not expect it. Chapter 468 Big Brother, You're So Good. Because the original subordinates of the Navy leader Smollo knew that the Navy leader Smollo was not only superb, but also particularly disgusted with pirates. According to what they thought in the past, it was impossible for the Navy leader Smollo to beg the pirates in Kazama no matter what. But they never expected that now the Navy chief, Smollo, is not only begging the pirate Kazama for mercy. He even kept kowtowing to the wind and begging for mercy. This completely refreshed their worldview. It really made them look unbelievable. At this time, Kazama originally wanted to bring down the naval leader Smollo to ashes. But then Kazama thought again, Ryujin, I didn't come to this pirate world to start a killing spree. Besides, these navies are so arrogant and domineering now. If I kill this Navy chief, Smollo, it will surely make the navies circle around me like flies. It would also prevent me from reaching the great voyage smoothly. If I can't reach the great road of navigation, then I can't temper the strength of Luffy and others. Thinking of this, Kazama was ready and decided to take this Navy chief, Smollo, as his pawn. So Kazama made a face-to-face effort and cast his strongest demonic illusion Kotoamatsukami on the Navy chief, Smollo. Demonic illusion Kotoamatsukami in Kazama. The current Navy chief, Smollo, has completely obeyed Kazama, and no longer dares to pretend in front of Kazama. At this time, Kazama immediately rushed to Navy chief Smollo and said, Now you immediately press this clown Bucky, and that female pirate Arita to your naval prison, and then escort us away. And not allowed to tell your admiralty about us. Hee hee, I said you little bastard, do you think our leader, Navy leader Smollo, is your subordinate? How dare you command our leader? This is before the wind can finish speaking, and the many subordinates of the naval leader Smollo scolded the wind. Because they think that the strength of this wind is so strong. The naval chief, Smollo, who was the chief of the navy, could not obey Kazama's words either. After all, that was the navy chief, Smollo, but he was a serious navy. How could he possibly listen to a pirate's order? But what they didn't expect was that. Now the head of the navy chief, Smoluo, is like that small sum pecking at the rice, and he keeps nodding in the wind and saying yes. At this time, the subordinates of the navy leader Smollo were not sure, and thought that the navy leader Smollo had taken the wrong medicine. So he said to the naval chief Smoluo again, I said chief, don't you forget now. You are our serious chief, why do you want this pirate in the wind to beg for mercy now? Clap clap clap. Before the navy soldiers could finish speaking, the navy leader Smollo knocked the navy soldiers to the ground between 3 and 5. You bastards, does my navy chief, Smollo, still use your orders? I tell you, Kazama is now my eldest brother, I don't care if he is a pirate or a navy, in short, what he says is what he says, and now you are the most, so let me hear it clearly, no one is allowed to pretend in front of Big Brother Kazama. Chapter 469 Mysterious Little Girl. If you don't obey Big Brother Kazejian's orders, then I'm bound to smash your corpses into tens of thousands of pieces. This one. As soon as they heard the words of the Navy Chief Smollo, the Navy immediately fell into a cold sweat, and then hurriedly nodded and said yes. After all, the Navy leader, Smollo, was their leader. Even if these people were arrogant and domineering, they would not dare not to obey the command of the Navy leader, Smollo. At this time, Luffy, Zoro and others saw that Kazama not only defeated the Navy leader Smoluo by himself. Even the Navy chief, Smollo, and the many navies obeyed Kazama's orders. This suddenly shocked Luffy and the others. After all, Luffy and others knew that the Navy and the pirates were incompatible with each other. But now Kazama is actually able to command these navies. This naturally shocked Luffy and the others even more. So Luffy and Zoro hurriedly complimented Kazami. I said, Big Brother Kazama, you are so arrogant, so powerful. Yes, Kazama-san, although we have seen very powerful pirates, we have never seen a pirate who can command the Navy like you. You are a role model for us. Hee, brothers, you are right, although you say that I am not the one who takes credit and pride, but in front of me, neither the Navy nor the pirates dare to pretend to be in front of me. I have always been a human being. I'm not a prisoner, so as long as you follow me, no matter what the 4 emperors, the 7 martial seas, or the Navy headquarters, they are all garbage in front of me. Of course it is. Hearing Kazama's words, Luffy, Zoro and the others immediately nodded in agreement. You must know that if another person said such a thing, then I am afraid that Luffy and the others will sneer. They will all think this person is pretending. But now that they heard the words of the wind, they all nodded. Because Kazama does have this ability and the strength to say these words. At this time, Kazama and others set sail again not long after. At this time, with the help of Nami, the navigator, he continued to search for the great voyage. On the way, Luffy is used to eating beef, so he wants to eat some birds and hit Kiba Matsuri. So he immediately used his rubber ability, ready to catch a few birds flying in the distant sky. But who knew that it was not a bird that was caught in the end, but a little girl. This suddenly shocked the people and made them laugh and cry. At this time, because of the ability of Luffy's rubber, the rebound was too strong. With another face-to-face effort, Sauron, who was sleeping soundly, was thrown into the sea. It made Kazama and the others burst into laughter. Then Kazama rushed to the little girl who was caught by Luffy and was in a coma all the time. Luffy, your luck is also very good. Obviously you are going to catch birds, but now you have dragged a little girl. What should you do with this little girl? This. Hearing Kazama's words, Luffy scratched his head in embarrassment. I'm not too sure about this, because I didn't know how I caught this little girl just now. And how could this little girl be alone on this ocean? Just when the wind and others were thinking about the little girl's life experience. Chapter 470 Descendants of the True Dragon. The little girl immediately woke up. At this time, the little girl woke up with a start, and saw Kazama and the others looking straight at her, which immediately shocked her. Then I saw the pirate flag on the boat, which made the little girl fall into a cold sweat. After all, ordinary people are very afraid of pirates. At this time, as soon as Kazama saw the nervous appearance of the little girl, he immediately said to the little girl, "Don't worry, although we are pirates, we are also the righteous pirates." Really, do pirates have justice too? Hearing what Fengjian said, the little girl immediately asked Fengjian curiously. Oh, of course it is. At this time, Luffy and the others immediately spoke to the whole little daughter. You don't know all, this is our big brother Kazama, he is the righteous pirate, and he also helped the Navy catch some heinous pirates. And those navies have also become our good brothers and good partners, so we are all righteous people, we are not the pirates who burn, kill and rob, we are just going to find the great voyage of the sea. Treasure, so you don't have to worry at all. Oh, really, that's really good. After hearing the words of Fengjian and others, the little girl immediately nodded happily. Afterwards, he also revealed his life experience to Kazama, Luffy and others. My name is Abyss. Because the Navy is chasing me now, if you are really just people, I wonder if you can send me to my hometown, Battleship Island. What? Battleship Island? As soon as she heard what the little girl said, Nami immediately wanted to refuse. Because this warship island is not the same route as the voyage route they went to. In addition, this little girl seems harmless to humans and animals, but she will be hunted down by the serious Navy. This naturally made Nami even more shocked. So Nami immediately rushed to Kazama and whispered, "Big brother Kazama, it's not that I can't help you, but the identity of this little girl is too mysterious, and he was hunted by the Navy, and he was with our great. The purpose of the voyage is different, so if I say we should do more than one thing, give this little girl a kayak and let her go on her own. Absolutely not. Hearing Nami's words, Kazama immediately shook his head with a smile. After all, Kazama is a righteous person. How could he allow this little girl to be captured by those navies like this? Although it is said that these navies all advertise themselves as righteous people. But Kazama also knew that if it was a righteous navy, it would be impossible to arrest the little girl recklessly. Today, the navy who captured the little girl is probably the evil one. So Kazama turned to the little girl again and said, "Why are those navies arresting you?" This one. Hearing Fengyan's words, Abis hesitated for a while. But then he seemed to have made up his mind and nodded immediately. "It was originally my secret. I shouldn't have told you, but now that you have asked, I will tell you one by one, but I hope that after telling you, you will be able to escort me to the warship island, can you?" Abis immediately asked in the wind. Chapter 471 Immortal Dragon Bone. "Of course, and even if you don't tell me, I'll be willing to escort you to Battleship Island." "Really? That's really good." Hearing Fengyan's words, the little girl immediately nodded happily. Then he rushed to the wind again and said, "You all don't know, our warship island is also known as the Lost Island, and our Lost Island saint legend has a real dragon. As long as anyone takes the bones of this real dragon, then I can live forever." So the Navy sees that I am a resident of Gunkanjima, and thinks that I know the news about the real dragon, so they want to kidnap me and force me to tell where the real dragon is. But I really don't know what a real dragon is, so I was constantly abused by these navies, and I managed to escape now. What? These navies are so arrogant and domineering. After hearing the words of the little girl Abis, Luffy immediately became furious and violent. At this time, Zoro, Sanji, Nami, Usopp and others were also very angry. After all, they are the same as the Wind Room, they are all men with iron bones. How could they possibly let this little girl go, bullied by these navies? So Kazama immediately swore to Abis and said, "No problem, since you told us now, then although we are pirates, we are also just people, so we must help you." At this time, Kazama said, and immediately changed the sailing route. Ready to take this little girl to his hometown, Gunkanjima. But what Ling Fengjian and the others did not expect was, those navies who were chasing Abis were moving very fast. A face-to-face effort appeared in the field of vision of Kazama and others. This suddenly made Abis panic-stricken. After all, Abis didn't know Kazama's abilities, so she thought that Kazama was a pirate. Then the pirates are absolutely impossible to beat the navy. Therefore, Abis hurriedly rushed to Kazama and the others and said, "I said Big Brother Kazama, what should we do? These navies are very powerful here, and now he is about to catch up with us, what should we do? Or you will hand me over to the navy, I can't implicate you." "Hee, I said this little boy, you look down on our Big Brother Kazama too." At this moment, Luffy immediately smiled and shook his head at Abis. "Our eldest brother Kazama is very strong and powerful, not to mention the navies of these divisions, even the Navy headquarters, our eldest brother Kazama can instantly raise them to the ground, right? Brother Kazama." "Oh, of course it is." At this time, Kazama's face-to-face kung fu immediately cast Suiten, water style. Suiten, water style, water wave. Jinchuriki column like the steel bars appeared in the ocean. After a few face-to-face efforts, all the naval warships were sunk. What? How is this possible? Once I see the strength of the wind is so awesome. To actually be able to manipulate seawater as a means of attack, this completely refreshed the worldview of that Abis. It also immediately shocked Abis. At this time, the navy who were shot down by the wind was even more terrified in their hearts. Chapter 472 The Last Real Dragon. Originally, they thought that they had a large number of people and that there was only one person in the wind, so the wind was definitely not an opponent of the navy they waited for. But they never expected that the wind was so powerful. So these navies rescued themselves while calling for help. Prepare to find a large number of navies to deal with Kazama. At this time, Kazama and others had already led Abyss to this warship island. Then the residents of the island saw that Kazama and others were pirates, and everyone was very scared. But then they saw that Kazama saved Abyss, and they also knew that Kazama was not a bad person. So he immediately entertained Kazama and the others. That Luffy is a famous foodie, so after a few face-to-face efforts, he started to gobble up under the warm hospitality of everyone. But at this time, Abyss left the crowd and sneaked out. And at this time, Abyss saw that this Abyss was mysteriously whereabouts. Then she thought to herself, this Abyss keeps saying that he doesn't know the whereabouts of the real dragons, but those navies are not fools. If Abyss really doesn't know the whereabouts of those real dragons, there is no need for these navies to keep going. Hold her alone and don't let go. Thinking of this, Kazama immediately followed Abyss in secret. Sure enough, this Abyss went into a cave after a lot of twists and turns. At this time, the wind came to this cave. Even when he discovered this cave, there was a huge real dragon in the creek. At this time, the real dragon may be too old, so it has no vitality. Instead, he was dying like a dying old man. At this time, with the arrival of the wind, the real Long Yi discovered the arrival of the wind. So I immediately reminded Abyss. At this time, Abyss turned her head to look, only to realize that Kazama had followed her here. This suddenly surprised Abyss. Because that Abyss thought that Kazama was also here to take this true dragon bone. So he immediately stood in front of the real dragon, and shouted sharply at Fengjian, "Brother Fengjian, I originally thought you were a righteous person, but now I didn't expect you to be just like the Navy, you are a piece of shit. Son of a bitch, now that I'm here, you can't hurt this real dragon." Hearing what Abyss said, Kazama immediately smiled and shook his head. I said, Abyss, you underestimate me too. No matter how I say Fengjian, I'm still a sturdy man. How could I do such a rude thing? What, you mean that you are not here to snatch this real dragon bone now? Of course it is. But how is this possible? You must know that whether it is the Navy or the pirates, they all very much hope to get this immortal dragon bone. How could you not be interested in this true dragon bone? Hearing what Abyss said, Kazama laughed again. Because even if I don't have this real dragon bone, I can still live 100 years in the wind. Besides, I am not too interested in immortality. You're not interested, but I'm very interested. While chatting with Abyss in the wind, a sturdy figure immediately appeared in front of the two of them. At this time, he did not wait for the wind to react. The mysterious man immediately launched an attack on Abyss. Kazama hurriedly flew to block in front of Abyss. But at this moment, the attack of this mysterious man changed direction in an instant, killing the real dragon directly behind Kazami. Brother Kazama, the enemy's target is the real dragon, please save it. Abyss cried immediately after seeing it. Chapter 473 Steal the Dragon's Bone. Haha, do you only know my true intentions now? It's a pity that you are too stupid. I have decided on this true dragon bone. At this time, the burly mysterious man said, and accelerated his attack again. But what he didn't expect was, just as his attack was about to hit the aging true dragon, suddenly, it was directly burned into nothingness by a mysterious flame. What? How is this possible? Once he saw that his attack was halfway through, the burly mysterious man was shocked. At this time, Fengjian immediately sneered and said to him, Hee hee, do you think I am the stunned young boy? Do you think I didn't see your true intentions clearly? At this time, Kazama said, and immediately walked in front of this sturdy figure. At this time, the strong and mysterious man was shocked when he saw Yuhi's Sharingan, the pair of orangutans in the wind. Although it is said that in this One Piece world, there is no such thing as eye surgery. But this burly and mysterious person saw that the pattern of the pair of Sharingan in the wind was so strange, which naturally made him extremely puzzled. Is it because of your eyes that you can see my true attack line clearly in such a short period of time? That's right, it's because of my eyes, and now I'm still showing mercy to you and didn't kill you, otherwise my eyes alone would be enough to smash your bones into ashes and burn you into nothingness. Haha, it really makes me laugh. At this time, the burly and mysterious man heard the words of the wind. Not only was he not afraid, but he sneered again and said into the wind, I tell you little scumbag, I am the famous Navy Barda, how can you allow this little trash to be arrogant in front of me? As Nabalda said that, he immediately attacked the aging real dragon behind Kazama again. It's a pity that Nabalda's attack now seems to hit the invisible barrier. It didn't do any damage to this real dragon at all. This suddenly shocked Nabalda in shock. How is this possible? Before I didn't know, I was blocked by this little stray hair. This is understandable, but now I have clearly seen through his tricks, and I also saw that he did not use any. Why is he still able to block my attack now? Quote. Just when Barda was shocked. The wind once again waved his hand gently, and used this nameless fire to surround Nabalda. Let me tell you Barda, this move I'm using now is the Falling Heart Flame, and this Falling Heart Flame is an infinite and invisible fire, so I advise you to make it clear to me, otherwise as long as I gently with one touch, you can burn to ashes from the inside out. Quote. Stop fucking pretending to be in front of me. At this time, Barda scolded the wind again. Don't look at this Barda's strength, but this Barda is notoriously arrogant and domineering. Now this Barda is thinking about what he says, it is the famous Navy. But now that he has been defeated by Kazama over and over again, this naturally makes Nabalda furious. So this Balda opened his stance again and attacked the Kazama. And at this time, in the wind, he was about to cripple this Barda, so that he would have a long memory. Chapter 474 Eric the Weasel. Unexpectedly, Nabalda turned around and ran away. Hee, it seems that this Barda is giving me a hard-to-eat game. Seeing the figure of Barda fleeing in embarrassment, the wind can be said to be laughing and laughing. Although there are countless opportunities in the wind, it can bring Nabalda to the ashes. However, Kazama is not that murderous person. Besides, since this real dragon bone can make people immortal, then even the Navy will definitely be very coveted, so Kazama understands it very well. You must know that if Fengjian has not already possessed the flame of immortality, he can prolong his life indefinitely. To be honest, Kazama will also be very coveted by this true dragon bone. And at this moment, when Abyss on the other side saw that the real dragon face she was guarding was like golden paper, the breath was going out and not coming in, and it seemed that it was about to die. So he hurriedly said to Fengjian, I said, Big brother Fengjian, this real dragon must have been frightened just now, so it is said that his heart rate is unstable now, and it seems that it will not last long, can you help me? What about taking him immediately to the lost island at the bottom of the ocean? You must know that the south of this lost island is the home of the true dragon. If he was brought there, maybe he can get the source of the true dragon and restore his life again. This one. Hearing what Abyss said, Kazama immediately smiled and shook his head. Oh, I said Big brother Fengjian, do you think you don't want to help me? If so, then I won't blame you. After all, we are all people who meet by chance. If you don't want to help me, I can do it. Understood. Although Abyss said this, his face was still very painful. At this time, Kazama smiled again and said to Abyss, I said, Abyss, don't be too arrogant now, I am the sturdy and iron-boned man, and the righteous man in your eyes, Kunzi, how could I not help you with this? It's just that this real dragon is dying now, and he can't keep us from taking it to the lost island. Then what do you say? It's very simple, now I'll let him be reborn. What? How is this possible? You are just an ordinary human being. Even if your strength is superb, how can you bring this real dragon back to life? Hearing Fengyan's words, Abyss immediately shook her head into a rattle. It's not that Abyss looks down on Kazama, but because there is no one who has such a powerful strength in that Abyss outlook on life. But she didn't know that other people didn't have such powerful strength. But the wind can have such a powerful strength. At this time, the wind's voice fell, and a green flame was injected directly into the real dragon. And at this time, the flames that were cast in the wind were the flames of life that could bring people back to life. Kazama thought even if this real dragon did not obtain the origin of the real dragon, with the help of his own soul, he can still bring this true dragon back to life. But the wind did not expect that the vitality that this real dragon needs is very powerful and very powerful. Moreover, it is necessary to obtain the source of the true dragon in order to be able to be reborn in earnest. Therefore, although this living soul's flame in the wind now has some effects, it is not too big. Chapter 475 Tamari in One Piece World. It only temporarily stabilized the speed of the real dragon's aging, giving him a little bit of vitality for the time being. But it did not allow him to enter the peak period as he did back then. This naturally made the wind room embarrassed. You must know that this is the first time Kazama pretended to be slapped in the face. And when Abyss didn't know what to do, she saw that the real dragon, who was clearly dying, was now Yuhi Moon. Even when he thought that the real dragon had been reborn, it immediately made Abyss happy. Abyss thought that the real dragon had been reborn. So he immediately bowed his hands to the wind and thanked him. Big brother Kazama, you are really too awesome, too powerful. This. Hearing Abyss' compliment, Kazama scratched his head again embarrassedly. Then he hurriedly said to Abyss, you don't have to thank me, you must know that I didn't revive this real dragon seriously. Oh, how is this possible? I think this real dragon has been reborn now, so how can you say that he has not been resurrected? Hee, that's because if this real dragon wants to be resurrected, it must obtain the original source of the real dragon, so now I only temporarily give him a little bit of life. Our top priority is to help him enter the Lost Land as soon as possible, and let him regain the origin of the true dragon. Well, if that's the case then let's act now. You two little bastards, do you act when you say action? At this time, a thin middle-aged man dressed in the navy immediately led a large number of navy to block the way of the wind. And then this thin navy once appeared. The so-called navy chief Barda immediately came to this thin navy. Big brother, it was this little bastard who beat my nose and swollen my face before, and he also said that you are a rubbish dog. As long as you dare to come, he will crush you to ashes. What? I'm angry too. The thin navy was bewitched by this Barda. Therefore, in a face-to-face effort, he regarded that Fengjian as his enemy. At this time, the wind was originally going to explain from him. After all, the wind had never scolded him at all, and never knew him. But this man was a headstrong man, and he didn't listen to Kazama's explanation at all. Instead, he immediately scolded the wind angrily. I'm telling you, I'm Eric, who is known as the Scythe, and now you dare to curse me inexplicably. It really annoys me, so now I have to took your dog's life. What? Eric the Shemale, it's the first time I've heard the name. Because the two pronunciations of Itachi and Shemale are very similar. That's why Kazama took that sickle Eric as the Shemale Eric. At this time, Eric was even more annoyed when he saw that Kazama dared to call him a demon. Directly pointed at the nose of the wind and shouted loudly. I told you that I'm a ferret, not a shemale. Hee, it doesn't make any difference, don't give me this shit. Seeing that Fengjian dared to keep laughing at himself, Eric was immediately furious. Then, with a face-to-face effort, he was killed in the wind. Futon, wind style, Itachi. At this moment, Eric took a look with both hands, and immediately displayed a sickle-like futon, wind style, killing him towards the wind. Chapter 476 Hanging Scythe Eric. Hee, I can't believe that in this One Piece world, there are people who have the exact same tricks as Tamari's ninjutsu in the Hokage world. Just when Kazama was ready to use his own futon, wind style, to easily resolve Eric's futon, wind style, suddenly, he saw Luffy and Zoro who came to him. I said big brother Kazama, we are your brothers, why don't you call us when you fight with the enemy? At this time, Zoro was talking to Luffy, and immediately prepared to resist Eric's attack. But what the two of them did not expect was that Eric's attack seemed to be unremarkable, but in fact his power was very powerful. Therefore, in a face-to-face effort, Luffy and Zoro were knocked to the ground. At this time, Luffy and Zoro were originally here to help Kazama. But they never expected that the two of them would be knocked to the ground by the enemy for their meritorious deeds. This immediately embarrassed them. But Kazama didn't mean to blame them. After all, Kazama also knows that Eric's futon, wind style, is really awesome and powerful. Moreover, there is no form and no form. It is indeed not something that Zoro and Luffy can deal with. So Kazama immediately said to Zoro and Luffy, "Nee, you don't have to worry about my safety. After all, in front of me, no one is qualified to pretend to be in front of me, so let me deal with this Eric now." At this time, Kazama said, and immediately cast the 3,000 flames of flame to heal Luffy and Zoro. At this time, once Eric saw this Kazama, he actually had the ability to instantly heal his injuries. This immediately made him coveted. After all, this Eric is a serious navy. He especially likes to recruit those strange people. So Eric immediately sneered and said to the wind, "I tell you this little bastard, at first I thought you were a rubbish bastard who can only talk big, but I never expected that now you still have the ability to instantly recover from injuries. Since this is the case, then you might as well surrender to me now, and be my subordinate, maybe I can save you and your companions a dog's life." Quote. But if you're fucking obsessed, don't blame me for being ruthless. Clap clap clap. Before Eric could finish speaking, Kazama was another face-to-face effort. Then, he performed the teleportation technique and came to Eric. Don't wait for Eric to react. There were 3 slaps in the wind immediately, knocking Eric directly to the ground. "You bastard, how dare you attack me?" Seeing Fengjian knocking himself over to the ground, Eric's heart could be said to be furious. At this moment, Eric suddenly remembered something. Because in the recent rumors of their navy, there is a pirate who likes to slap people. And the strength of this pirate is also particularly awesome, especially powerful. So Eric immediately looked up and down in the wind. Then he counted at the wind room again. "You little brat, is it possible that you are called the wind room who likes to slap people?" "I am indeed Fengjian, because I can't change my name or my surname, but I don't like to slap people, because the people who are rewarded with slaps are all arrogant and domineering people." Chapter 477 Susano bigger than a real dragon. What? Annoy me too. As soon as Eric saw Fengjian dare to insult him as an arrogant and domineering person, this immediately made him even more annoyed. So he immediately unleashed his own scythe attack. But at this time, Eric didn't know Kazama's true strength. I don't know that futon wind style in the wind is more powerful than his own futon wind style. He thought that Kazama was just as useless as Luffy and Zoro. So I thought of a face-to-face effort to break the wind into 10,000 pieces. But who knows that his futon wind style Kama Itachi has just been cast. That Kazama cast a more powerful super futon wind style Scythe Itachi. After a face-to-face effort, not only did Eric's attack bounce back to all the same way. He even killed Eric with unabated power. At this time, Eric was caught off guard and was knocked to the ground by the wind. Because the futon wind style in the wind room is too awesome and too powerful. So at this time, even the clothes that Eric was wearing were torn to shreds by the futon wind style. This suddenly made Eric annoyed and angry. At this time, there were many Navy and Luffy and others around. They also saw that Eric actually put on the Emperor's new clothes, which immediately made them laugh and laugh. At this moment, Eric can't wait to shred the corpses of Fengjian and others, but he does not have the ability. Therefore, he could only run away frantically while covering his sensitive parts. Before leaving, he didn't forget to make a loud threat to the wind. "I tell you Xiao Zhao, you wait for me, don't think that now you have the upper hand, you can pretend to be in front of me, it won't take long, I'll show you the power of our naval headquarters." "Okay, No problem, I've long wanted to see how awesome and powerful your chiefs of the Navy headquarters are. After seeing this Eric escape, that Kazama didn't kill him. After all, Fengjian doesn't have any deep hatred with him. Moreover, the top priority of Fengjian now is to bring this aging real dragon to the lost city on the bottom of the sea. Only in this way can this real dragon be brought back to life. But because the body of this real dragon is too big. Although Luffy and the others made a bamboo raft, they still couldn't move on this mountain road. This suddenly made Luffy, Zoro and the others lose their minds. And this is the wind, who smiled again and said to them, "Everyone, don't worry, I can bring this real dragon to the bottom of the sea by myself." What? How is this possible? Once I heard Funyun's words, don't say that Luffy and Zoro couldn't believe it. Even that Abyss shook her head into a rattle. I said, "Big brother Kazama, we all know that your strength is indeed very powerful, but no matter how powerful your strength is, you can't brag. After all, you are a strong man, then you must not brag." Yes, the bragging person is not a strong man. He. Seeing that Abyss rushed to ask herself a question, Kazama immediately laughed. I said, "Abyss, you look down on me too much." This is a face-to-face kung fu of the wind, and immediately casts the full-body Susanoo. To know the height of this complete Susanoo, but there are hundreds of feet. Much bigger than this real dragon. Chapter 478 Admiral Arza. At this time, Susanoo, the perfect body that Kazama had displayed, grabbed it with a big hand. He immediately grabbed the aging real dragon in his hand. What? How is this possible? Once I saw the wind displayed such a powerful strength. This suddenly shocked that Abyss was shocked. At this time, Luffy and Zoro had already seen Kazami's abilities. However, they were still very shocked. After all, in their impressions, they have never seen anyone who can display such strength. Even though Kazama had cast this complete Susanoo before. But now with Kazama's replay, Luffy and the others are still excited in their hearts. After all, no matter who they are, they want their companions to be very powerful and powerful characters. At this time, Susanoo of Kazama was holding the real dragon with one hand. Protecting everyone with one hand, he immediately went to the bottom of the sea to find the lost world. But what Kazama and the others didn't expect at this time is that now they have come to this bottom of the sea. The lost island has not yet been found, but instead, many huge creatures have been seen. At this time, those huge marine creatures were all killed towards the wind and the others. Abyss trembled with fright when she saw it. Big brother Kazama, since we are in a windless zone, and this windless zone is particularly prone to breeding such powerful marine creatures, you must be very careful now. I don't have to be careful at all, because these monsters are just garbage in front of me. What, is this true? Hearing Funyun's words, Abyss was taken aback again. And just when Abyss was shocked. That time, Kazama used his god-level Susanoo to knock all these monsters to the ground. Then these monsters were frightened and fled in a hurry. What? I said, big brother Kazama, you are too good, you are also very good, right? See how powerful this Susanoo in Kazama is. This suddenly made Abyss envious. Then Kazama led Luffy, Zoro and others to the lost island on the bottom of the sea again. But just when Kazama and others were constantly looking for this lost island, suddenly, it was shaken to the sea by a huge pressure in the seabed. At this time, the wind and the others hadn't reacted to what was going on. When they saw a navy ship that looked like the head of a beast in front of them, it appeared in front of them. I mean, what the hell am I saying? These navies have nothing to do. Why are they always chattering in front of us? When Luffy saw it, he immediately complained to the navy. At the time, the chief of the navy on this ship was a very greasy fat man. As soon as he heard Funyun's words, he immediately sneered. Then, when he probed with one hand, he saw a powerful tsunami suddenly appear. Then he killed the others in the wind. What? This guy actually uses Sweden water style. Seeing that this navy can actually use such a powerful sweeten, water style, Kazama was immediately surprised. At this time, the greasy middle-aged naval leader immediately cursed loudly into the wind. "You little bastard, you dare to take action against our navy over and over again. It's really unbearable and unbearable. Today I have to smash your corpse into thousands of pieces and smash your bones into ashes." As the fat navy spoke, he stepped up his attack again. At this time, Eric Kamise, who had been knocked to the ground by the wind, was earlier. Then he immediately came to the fat navy, and also scolded Kazama and others. "Hee hee, little bastard, I told you before I left that I must tear you to pieces. Now my assistant is Admiral Arza of the Navy, who can use his powerful sea power to attack you. Therefore, you little bastards have no ability to be arrogant and domineering in front of our naval admiral." What? Just when Arza and Eric thought that Kazama and the others would definitely be buried in the sea. Expected this god-level Susanoo in the wind to wave his hand. The tsunami that Arza cast directly turned into nothingness. "Your strength is indeed unexpected to me, but even if you can use the power of this sea water, you can't be my opponent." At this time, Kazama immediately controlled the god-level Susanoo and walked towards Admiral Arza and the others again. At this time, Arza became angry after seeing it, and immediately performed a move that shocked everyone even more. Chapter 479 Pirate Version of Meat Bomb. It turned out that this fat admiral of the Navy actually stripped all his clothes in one face-to-face effort. Then the admiral took a deep breath. In an instant, his fat body became like that hill. "Look at my meatball chariot." Following the roar of the admiral of the Navy, he immediately killed Kazama and the others. "Hee hee, I said that the people in this pirate world are more and more similar to those in the Hokage world. Isn't this Navy Admiral's meat-bombing chariot the Choji's meat-bombing chariot?" Fangjan smiled coldly after seeing it. But Luffy, Zoro, and the others beside him had never seen such a powerful move. Plus the admiral took off his clothes again. This suddenly made them seem to have corns in their eyes, and they all covered their eyes and dared not look. At this time, the admiral of the Navy was going to use this method to let Luffy, Zoro and others relax their vigilance. Then he can take the opportunity to sneak attack on them. But he never expected that even in front of the wind room, even the dirty forehead could be seen by the wind room. After all, Fangjan is a sturdy man, and his willpower is very strong. It's just this fat admiral, how could Kazama fall for his tricks? So Kazama's face-to-face kung fu immediately cast the Yomatsu Hirasaka space technique. Then the admiral of the Navy hadn't reacted to what was going on. When even realized that he was about to hit Kazama and others. But after a face-to-face effort, he hit his own ship. This immediately shocked him. At this time, the crew on the ship was also torn apart by the admiral's flash bomb chariot. What? How is this possible? At this time, the Navy Admiral Kai hurriedly recovered his original body. Then he looked at the ship that had been smashed into ruins by his own flesh-bombing chariot, and his face was full of horror. At this time, Feng Shi smiled again and said to the Admiral of the Navy, "I said, you Admiral of the Navy, your meat bomb chariot is not comparable to my friend's meat bomb chariot, so if you really have that awesome kung fu, then you will show it immediately. If you don't show it, then I will beat you up in the wind now. After all, you have already annoyed me now." Quote. "Don't give me a fucking smack." At this time, the Admiral of the Navy did not take Kazama in his eyes at all. Besides, he didn't know Kazami's true strength. If he knew the true strength of Kazama, he naturally did not dare to pretend in front of Kazama. But this naval admiral thought that no matter what Kazama said, he was just a garbage-like pirate. What qualifications do you have to act in front of yourself? So the Admiral of the Navy said as he did his best again. After a few face-to-face efforts, they were killed in the wind. At this time, when Kazama saw the Admiral's pretense like this, the authorities sneered. So he immediately shot again, preparing to beat the Admiral of the Navy into a bruised face. But what Kazama didn't expect was that this naval admiral was a notoriously sinister and cunning person. He clearly attacked Kazama and others. But in fact, it did make his subordinates build the plank road clearly and darken the warehouse. Chapter 480 Rubbish Still Hang. He directly detoured behind the ship of Kazama and others, and surrounded the dying real dragon. At this time, fortunately, the wind room opened Mangekyo Sharingan, with a 360-degree line of sight without dead ends. That's why he saw the admiral's tricks. So the wind was instantly furious and violent. After all, Kazama is a sturdy man, and he has always hated villains like Admiral of the Navy who use tricks the most. At this time, the Admiral of the Navy saw that his subordinates were completely close to this real dragon. Immediately, he laughed wildly, and then immediately looked at Kazama proudly. "Let me tell you, Xiao Zhao Mao, I admit that your strength is indeed very good, but unfortunately, no matter how good you are now, you can't rescue this real dragon, and as long as I cut off a bone of this real dragon, then I can take this bone and become an immortal person. Just wait and regret it for the rest of your life, Xiao Zhao Mao." Quote. As the admiral said that, he laughed wildly again. What? But just when the admiral of the navy thought that he could finally get the real dragon bone. However, he suddenly discovered that Fengjian had exchanged places with this real dragon in an instant. This is the most powerful space ninjutsu in the wind, Heavenly Hand's strength. At this time, the crew members who were originally preparing to attack the real dragon. There was no response at all. The swords, spears, swords, and halberds in their hands were all slashed into the wind. If this is put on the body of an ordinary person, then I am afraid that this person will be cut into 5 horses and divided into corpses in one face-to-face effort. But it's a pity that in front of the invulnerable person in the wind, the attacks of these crew members are simply garbage. At this time, those crew members were not only unable to hurt the wind in the slightest. Instead, they were all blown away by a face-to-face effort by the wind. At this time, the real Long Yi naturally appeared on the boat that Kazami was standing on before. What? I'm so angry. At this time, the Admiral of the Navy did not know what strategy Kazama used. He could actually swap places with the real dragon. But the Admiral of the Navy is now angry to the extreme. He didn't care what stratagem Fengjian used. In short, in his eyes, he thought that he had to kill Kazama. If Kazama could not be beheaded, then he would be a shame as a naval admiral. So the Admiral of the Navy scolded angrily while killing the wind again. But he never expected that Kazama had already had the will to kill this naval admiral at this moment. After all, Kazama wanted to protect this real dragon, and was unwilling to let these evil navies deal with this real dragon. But Kazama never expected that this naval admiral was indeed too arrogant and domineering. It was impossible for Kazama to endure him no matter what. So in a face-to-face kung fu, the wind performed the technique of instant body and came to the front of this naval admiral. At this time, the Admiral of the Navy originally thought that he and Iblis were far apart. No matter how powerful the wind is, it is impossible for him to hurt himself in a short period of time. But he never expected that he had far underestimated the strength of Kazama. At this time, as soon as he saw Fengjian approaching him, he was so frightened that he broke out in cold sweat, and then collapsed to the ground with a plop.